Everyone, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Jeff Crane. I'm one of the co-founders of United Patriots Arizona. Myself and Joe, wherever Joe is. Joe's outside. But he and I started this group about a year and a half ago, just before the 2020 election, and we did that in anticipation of what might come. We didn't know what would come, but it's kind of grown from there. Started with about 5 of us in Joe's family room, and it's grown to what it is today. We've got a great opportunity tonight to listen to a couple of great men. One of them is Robby Jeanne, who's actually a member of our group. He's been with us since about the beginning, and then we have Jim Lamon, who's running for U.S. Senate as well with us tonight.
Come on, guys.
So we're going to housekeeping for y'all. The restrooms are here in the back. This little pathway here, this hallway goes nowhere, so don't get lost up there. Restrooms in the back, water's in the back. I believe it's filtered water. You can fill up your bottles if you like as well. And what we do
Thank you too, Michael.
is we start with a prayer and we start with a pledge. So I did not ask somebody tonight if they would like to pray. I usually do that before. Is there someone that is just aching to jump up right now and start us with a prayer tonight? Yep. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Lamon. Oh, wow.
Bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this blessed country that you so bountifully blessed us with and given to us in our care. We know we've not been as good as stewards as we should be, and we know that we have much work to do. Please have our backs, Lord. Please give us your strength, your vision. Help us to give you all the glory. Help us to know that it's very, very tough right now, but we know you love us. We know you forgive us. Help us to be kind and gentle, but be warriors in your name to save this country. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Carolina Crane, our professional Pledge of Allegiance leader, my daughter, and the owner of Let's Go Bracelets, will lead us in the pledge. All right, ready? Flags here on the wall.
Can you?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Catalina. Thank you, everybody. So, just so you know, we've got some great swag over here for sale. Shane Krauser, who's usually our constitutional instructor on a weekly basis, he's traveling this week. I believe he's up in Utah or Idaho at a couple conferences or speaking engagements. But we still have some great books that he has written. They're over here on this table. Some nice T-shirts. My daughter, Carolina Crane, started a business in the spirit of Let's Go Brandon. She called it Let's Go Bracelets. So she sells some really cute little patriotic bracelets that she makes. And then we've got Jim Lamon's campaign that has a table here in the back. So please, tonight, if you're up and about, getting a drink of water, using the restroom, or even after the meeting, spend some time talking with their campaign, their staff, as well as Jim. We do end at 8:30 tonight, but we have the room until 9:30, so we usually spend about an hour after the meeting just mingling and chatting. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet Jim and anybody else that you want to sit and chat with. Right? So we'd like to recognize anybody that's running for public office besides Jim. He'll be speaking with us a little bit later. But is anybody else running for public office here in the state of Arizona? Whether it's municipal, state, federal. Nobody here tonight? Great. If you've served in the military, fire, or law enforcement, please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it.
I tried to catch you.
Every week we send out emails and text messages with the information for these weekly meetings in them. If you would like to be added to that distribution list, if you're not already on that, you can do so a couple ways. You can scan this QR codes here on the banners. You can pick up one of our business cards on the table over here. It also has a QR code. It'll take you right to the subscribe page on our website. Or you can fill out the email list that we have over here, pen and paper. So we'll get you added to that distribution list if you would like to receive the invites on a weekly basis. If you're not able to make each meeting physically, we also, thanks to George Nima, we are so grateful for George. He has a channel called MAAP Real Talk Show.
Yes, sir.
And it is an absolutely spectacular service that he provides us. He comes here every week for us and records these and then posts them on Rumble and some other
Cloud Hub.
And we
others.
appreciate George, and we just want to give him a plug. If you have not checked out his channel, it's MAAP Real Talk Show. You won't be disappointed. We post those there for us every week, and then we add those to our website. So if you're not able to be here physically, you can go to the website and watch all our meetings as well. Okay? So, George, thank you very much. Everybody, let's give George a hand.
Very much obliged.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
if you feel like you're getting some value out of this meeting, around 8 o'clock or so tonight, we do have little donation jars that we send around. Those donations that we receive from you go directly to pay for these facilities and to actually make this happen. The money does not go to myself or Joe or Shane. It goes to pay for the $250 fee for this building every week, and it goes to cover the cost of putting this on. So we appreciate you. Because of your donations, we've been able to do this. I mean, movements take money, they take time, they take a lot of work, but the almighty dollar is always behind it. So we do appreciate your donations. And if you're not able to donate, we still want you here every single week. We appreciate you being here. Great. So before we turn the time over to Robby tonight, every week we have a fun little trivia game that we do. And then we also, whoever brought the most guests, each one of those things, we give out a little prize. We have a $25 gift certificate that we usually give out for that. And they're supposed to be here tonight. We were going to get replenished. If they're not replenished by the time we leave, and you do win, you can pick up one of these t-shirts for free. These are United Patriots t-shirts, co-branded with one of our sponsors, U.S. Law Shield. And these go for about $150 at Tommy Bahamas, if you go there. No, they're about $10. We sell them between $10 and $20, but if you win tonight, we'll make sure that you walk out with something if the gift cards aren't here. So, great. So let's start with first, who's here for the first time that's never been with us at all, ever? Absolutely. Spectacular.
Wow.
So a couple of you that have never been here, where are you from? Just out of curiosity, where are you all from?
I'm from Chandler.
Chandler? Okay, so local?
Yes.
Awatuki? Does anybody come from out of state? Because some nights we actually have people that travel from out of state that are here with us. And you, sir, what's your name? Bob. And you come from up North Valley area? And we're honored to have you all with us. And we hope that you really enjoy being with us here tonight. So we have a lot of fun. We teach on the Constitution, but we make it really fun and exciting. Great, so who brought more than one person, more than themselves? Everybody. Who brought two people with them tonight? So yourself and another person.
But they have to be new people?
No, we'll just say. Okay, who brought yourself, another person, and a third person? Anybody? Okay, how about 4 people in your group? Anybody with 4 people in your group? Wow, 5? Okay, so we got a tie for 4. All right, so we're going to have a runoff. All right, how about arm rest, push-ups? Claps, yeah? Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll make sure both of you get something to go home with tonight, okay? So make sure you get with me, and you sir in the burgundy shirt. Rob? Rob. Great. All right. This is why you all came for the trivia. Here we go. Ready? So this is the rule. I need one person to come up with me just to help me keep score. Nicole. Yes. Nicole's going to keep score. So this is the rule. You let me finish the question. As soon as I finish asking the question, you shout out the answer. Whoever answers first correctly, you keep score. And at the end, whoever has the most correct answers, you'll win not only a t-shirt, but a gift certificate.
I take small bribes.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. And there are 10 questions tonight.
Like a debit card.
Okay, question number 1. Number of signers to the U.S. Constitution.
27.
Nope, 39. Question number 2. Where was the Constitutional Convention held? City, location in the city. Philadelphia. Where in Philadelphia? Okay, so somebody has one correct answer.
Well, I know, I think she's back here, she's not very loud.
Yep, Nicole?
She needs to speak louder.
You want it? Then yell.
So what? Repeat the answer.
Speak up.
The answer is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Independence Hall. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Question number 3. Which word is not in the Constitution? I will give you 4 choices. Number 1, this word was not in the Constitution. Rights, justice, science, or democracy?
Democracy. Democracy.
Okay, whoever Nicole chose, You have a point. Number 4. No, the answer was democracy.
That's right. It was democracy.
Yeah.
Because we are not a democracy, we are a republic.
Okay, you all won,
That's
so
what
you're all
Americans
equal now. Number 4. What year was the U.S. Constitution signed by the delegates?
1787.
Number 5. That was 1787. Number 5. How many states existed at the time of U.S. Constitution signing? How many states?
13. 13.
13.
13.
13 states. Number 6. Which of the following is not mentioned in the Constitution? Number 1. Trial by jury. Number 2. Protections for life, liberty, or property. Number 3. How the president should be chosen. Number 4. Public education.
Public education.
You guys are good. Public education was the correct answer. Nicole's in charge of choosing, so I'm moving on. Number 7. How many states were required to ratify the Constitution for it to become law?
9.
Huh, you got that. 9. So we had 9 out of 13 that were required. Next question. How many states ultimately ratified the Constitution?
13.
13 is the correct answer. Number 9. Quote. Who said this quote? Loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it. Loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it. Author? Mark Twain. Mark Twain. Good. Number 10, last question. Who is considered the father of the Constitution?
James Madison.
Somebody over here got it. All right, so who has the most?
Who has 2? You have 2? 2? You have 2. That's 3. You guys have 2 each.
Okay. 2 each, tiebreaker. Okay, between the 2 people. Okay. Article number 1 speaks to what? Between just these 2 people. Article number 1 speaks to what?
Legislative.
Are you in the runoff, folks? Okay, you got it. You got it. Legislative. Okay. So, Bob wins. All right. Yeah, Bob. First time here, he dominates. It's amazing. I like those boots, too. Well, thank you for being here tonight, Bob. Well, everyone, that's just a little bit of fun we like to have before we get started. So we're going to turn the time over now to our first presenter. His name is Robby Jeanne. Robby is an absolutely spectacular speaker. He is probably one of the most, the most exciting gentleman to listen to regarding the Constitution. He knows the Constitution. He knows the Founding Fathers. He knows the Articles of Confederation. And the Federalist Papers, et cetera, et cetera. You will learn.
5,000-year lead.
Yeah, and you will learn much from him tonight. So we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Robby. Let's give him a very warm welcome.
Thanks so much, everyone. Okay, so I guess I can't hear myself a bit, but I thought I'd do a presentation on immigration since we're all Arizonians and immigration is a big issue in the lives of Arizonans. I know there's been a lot of questions about the federal government's role in immigration and the lack thereof with respect to Arizona. So I thought what I would do is give you a lot of background on immigration from a constitutional standpoint so you have a better understanding, and it'll be a lot easier to hold federal and national figures' feet to the fire when it comes to immigration. I don't have the little disso, so I'm just going to have to hit the space bar. One of my favorite patriots is Thomas Jefferson. So if we just take a look at some of the quotes he says, I know no safe depository of ultimate powers of society, but the people themselves, and if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, i.e. going to public school systems, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional powers. You notice Jefferson did not say to rely on the federal government. He said to rely on we the people. Another one I like a lot. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. If we are to guard against ignorance and remain free, it is the responsibility of every American to be informed. You notice the key word? Informed. No?
Every.
No? Bingo! Responsibility. That is the biggest word I think in our country we need to remember. It is your responsibility to know the documents that this country was based on. Your responsibility. You definitely don't want to leave it up to a national or federal politician, I can assure you. On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed. Who do you think uses the bet, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text? Don't you think Congress does that? They do that all the time. It's like dealing with a bunch of lawyers. See, there's no lawyers in the house that I know, so I can say that. The book I like to use a lot of my, the terminology is from Webster's Dictionary of 1828. Webster did have a dictionary before this one, but unfortunately it's almost impossible to find one. But a lot of the terms that you're going to find in the Constitution, you're going to be able to find directly in this dictionary. Because I'm sure you might notice, if you look at terms from the old days and today, you will notice that definitions do change over time. So we want to go back to exactly as far back as we possibly can. Let's take a look at the unanimous declaration that these united colonies are and right out to be free and independent states, that they're absolved from their allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other things and acts which independent states may have right to do. What do you think is one of the things that independent states have right to do?
Oh, the federal government is responsible.
Well, that's true, but with respect to this presentation. Bingo, immigration. I think you saw my slides. So, immigration is one of the things that independent states have a right to do. Let's take a look at what is a colony, okay? A company or body of people transplanted from their mother country to a remote province or country to cultivate and habitate it, and remaining subject to the jurisdiction of the parent state as the British colonies in America. I'm sure everybody knows this. Just want to refresh your minds. What is a state? A state is a political body or body politic, the whole body of the people united under one government, whatever may be the form of that government. So that's what a state is. So when I talked about all other things which independent states may have a right to do, the Declaration of Independent States, levy war, conclude peace, contract alliance, and establish commerce. That's all in our Declaration of Independence. What are the other acts do states have a right power to do? Does France have a right to borrow money? Yes. Does Germany have a right to make a rule for naturalization? Yes. Does Italy have a right to coin money? Yes. Does Turkey have a right to punish counterfeiting? Are these all independent states? They also have a right to establish post offices, secure inventors' writings for discoveries, constitute tribunals, punish piracies, grant letters of marque, raise and support armies, provide and maintain navies. Now, not everybody's going to have a navy necessarily, especially if you're surrounded by other countries. Also, make rules for government, provide for the militia, and rules for immigration. So you'll notice that there's a naturalization and an immigration. There's two different aspects of government here. How many people here have actually traveled outside the United States? Raise your hand. A lot of people. When you go into that new airport, where's the first place you go before you go to baggage claim?
Costco.
You go to Costco. Now, where's the first place you go to after you get off the airplane? You go to what? I can't hear you. You go to customs and
Immigration.
how many go to naturalization? Raise your hands. Nobody here goes to naturalization? How come?
We're citizens.
Because you're not a naturalized citizen of that country. You go to immigration, and why? Because one of the things that states have a right to do is control who comes in and who goes out. There's a term for that. It's called immigration.
When you use the term states, you're talking about the United States. You're not talking about Arizona.
The United States of America is not a state. It acts like a state. It's a federation of nations. It is not a nation in itself. That is not a national flag. That is a federal flag. The stars within that blue field represent the nations of the United States of America, or states. It can be used interchangeably. In some respects, you will see in certain documents, they will make reference to a state. Sometimes the word state is used as the government of a nation. So when you talk about the state of Arizona, you're talking about the government of Arizona. But basically, they're one and the same thing. If you read James Madison's notes, Federalist Notes number 39, he talks about the characteristics of the United States of America. And so when the United States of America, the federal government, deals with other countries, they deal with them as nations. So when we deal with France, we're dealing with them as one nation together, separately. But they are not one nation in itself. It was created to be a federation of nations. That's why we have a federal system, not a national one.
And isn't that why they went to the European Union over in Europe?
Well, when they went to the European Union in Europe, what they did was they created a federation as well. So when they were completely independent, now they've lost some of their sovereignty. Now, like for example, you remember how everybody used to have their own different type of coins? Now what do they use in Europe? Okay, that's what we did. What did we use before we had the US dollar? What did we have? Spanish milk coin. What else did we have?
State coins.
We had state coins. Rupios? I don't know what that is. We had continental currencies. We had private bankers' notes. Each nation had their own currency. So we had many different currencies circulating. And we took that and we canceled that all out, and we only went with gold and silver in this country. But unfortunately, because we have a bunch of treasonous people in Washington, they created the Federal Reserve notes, which are not money at all. Those are bills of credit. You had a question, ma'am?
Yeah, what's the difference in the United Nations versus a federal? What is
Well,
that?
the United Nations is another federation, and it has its nations as well. So it has the United States and a lot of other nations. So it's a federation above another federation. Question in the back.
So if you have let's say
Make it fascinating, because I only got 35 minutes.
some local government who wants to implement something,
Yep.
and our
because you can't make you have to read Article 6 of the Constitution. You can only make laws in the Union that are pursuant of the Constitution. So, for example, whoever has any Federal Reserve notes on you, that's unconstitutional money, because the Constitution doesn't authorize bills of credit. Now, if you guys like, I can come back another day and do a presentation on money and bills of credit, because most people don't know the difference. But that's for another time. But let me get back to immigration, but I would definitely like to be able to expound on that question. So immigration is the passing or moving into a country for the purpose of permanent residence. We see that with a lot of people coming into Arizona, yes? Migration, the act of removing from one kingdom or a state to another for the purpose of permanent residence or residence of some continuance. Is Mexico a state? Yes. Is Arizona a state? Yes. So now that you understand a lot of these terminologies, you'll understand how they work together. The Articles of Confederation, which was our first constitution, a confederation is a league, a compact for mutual support, alliance, Declaration of Independence, list of contract alliances, right? Remember, that's one of the things that states can do. They can contract alliances. A league is an alliance or confederation between princes or states for the mutual aid or defense, a national contract or compact. What was the biggest reason we got together as a confederation in colonial America? Mutual defense. Remember, we were all these little tiny colonies, and we didn't really have, I mean, we barely won our independence with Great Britain, you know? It's not like we went over there and beat them up. We just made it so much of a problem for King George that he said, forget about it, just let them have the land, we'll just move on. So the biggest reason we got together with the other colonies is because we needed mutual aid. Alliance, two, a union between nations, contract by compact, treaty, or league. What is a nation? A body of people inhabiting the same country or united under the same sovereign or government, as the English nation, the French nation. So remember, you've got to look at Arizona as being a nation. The United States of America is a federation of nations. That's one of the many lies that you're never taught in these public school systems. So let's take a look at the federal constitution. What is a federation? The act of uniting in a league. Okay? What is the difference between a confederacy and a federacy? It only depends on the terms of the compact. In our confederacy, the respective states held 100% sovereignty. But in our federation, the states gave up some of their sovereignty to the general or federal government, which we the people created through our respective states. So what sovereign characteristics did the states give up to the general government? What's the answer? There it is. What rights of full power did the nations or states give up to the general government? They gave up the authority to borrow money, right? They gave up the authority to regulate commerce. That's one of the items that comes in the Declaration of Independence. Rule for naturalization. They gave that up as well. Coining money. If you guys look through Article 1, Section 8, everything I'm listing there is in there. Guess what's not in there? Did we give up our right to control immigration? No. Can anybody show me in the federal Constitution where we did that? That's right, it's not. That's an interesting observation, huh?
So how do we get rid of that?
Well, first of all, we got to go through the rest of this program so I can educate you, and then you're going to apply what you learn, okay? All right, let's take a look at what James Madison said in Federalist 45, paragraph 8. He said the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Is immigration one of them, and is it defined in the Constitution? No. Those which are remaining to the states are numerous and indefinite. So we were a state before we joined well, we weren't a state, but the 13 states, the original colonies that became states, those were states before we had a federal government. So each one of them had the right to control their own immigration. So when James Madison was saying that, he's talking about these rights would remain in the states. The former will exercise principally on external objects as war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce. Remember those were brought up in the Declaration of Independence? Then he goes on to say, with which the last power of taxation will be, for the most part, be connected. The powers reserved to the several states will extend to all objects which, in the ordinary course of your lives, ordinary course of affairs concern the lives, liberties, and properties of the people, and the internal order, improvement, and prosperity of the state. Take that last statement and apply that to your life with respect to immigration. Think about that. When you have illegal immigrants violating our natural rights, our laws, our property, right? When you see all these people walking over, trespassing on ranchers' land, murdering other people, do you think the immigration issue that we have today is completely described in the last part of that statement? Think about it. The lives, the liberties, and the properties of the people in the ordinary internal order, improvement, and prosperity of the state. What's going to happen if we have this huge invasion of illegal aliens coming into Arizona? Yeah. It's going to cause a major problem. Does immigration control fall under reserve powers? It sure does, because we never gave it to the federal government. So concerning the lives and liberty and property of the people and the internal order, state-funded medical care for illegal aliens. Does that affect anybody in here? Sure does. The state-funded education for illegal aliens, does that affect everybody here? In a positive way or a negative way? How about trespassing on your private property? How about murdering an Arizonian? How about drugs crossing the border? Illegal aliens voting in our elections? Does that affect you? How about welfare issued to illegal aliens, ETB cards? Housing vouchers issued for illegal aliens? So was James Madison, did he know what he was talking about? He sure did. He knew exactly what he was talking about. Let's take a look at the other side, which people get confused. Immigration and naturalization, okay? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. To establish a rule of naturalization. Remember James Madison said that the powers given to the federal government were few and defined. Naturalization is defined. It is one of the few powers. The act of investing an alien with the rights and privileges of a native subject or citizen. You see that? I'm not sure you guys can read that far back, because this is not as big as I'd like it to be, but I'm yelling out as much as I can. So nowhere in the Constitution is the authorization to control immigration given to the general government outside of Article 1, Section 9. The immigration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. What do you think he's talking about? Starts with an S. No, not the Supreme Court. Slavery. That's what he's talking about. They're talking about slavery. That was one of the great compromises of our federal Constitution, was slavery. So, persons as the state shall now think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by Congress prior to the year 808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importations not exceeding $10 for each person. After 1808, Congress may prohibit the migration or importation of such persons, i.e. slaves, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, to regulate commerce. Because a lot of people who were slaves, they would use terms like importation because they were not considered people. They're considered property. So to move them from one place to another, there was a conflict of whether or not they're property moving over or if they're people moving over. So that was the only example that Congress was given to get involved in immigration. So we can safely conclude that the states had full power to control immigration under Articles of Confederation? Yes. Under the federal Constitution? Except under Article 1, Section 9. And the act prohibiting importation of slaves took effect on January 1st, 1808, under the president of Thomas Jefferson. So after 1808, there was an act of Congress passed saying that you could not import any more slaves in the United States. That was the only extent that Congress had with respect to power to get involved in immigration. Remember, James Madison said, the powers delegated to the federal government in the proposed Constitution are few and defined. Anytime you find a congressman that's doing something that you don't agree with, the first thing I want you to do is find it in the Constitution. If you can't find it, then you call that representative and tell me where in the Constitution you're authorized to do this. So let's move on. So let's get America where 1846 and 1848. Under the Treaty of Hidalgo, after the United States invaded Mexico, unfortunately this country doesn't follow its own rules. We basically put a gun to Mexico's head and told them, you better either just give us the, $15 million we're going to give you for this land anyway. So we acquired the territories of Mexico to the United States of America. This would constitute New Mexico, Arizona, California, Western Colorado, Nevada, and Utah.
Texas.
So all of these areas that were a part of Mexico now became territories of the United States of America. Okay? This is going to get much better, I guarantee you. The Arizona Territory in 1848 to 1912, this is the growth of the population in Arizona. It went from about 6,400 up to about 204 in 1910. Lincoln created the Arizona Territory in 63 with the Arizona Organic Act. He actually separated, all of this used to actually be New Mexico. And in 1863, under the Organic Act, Lincoln separated Arizona and New Mexico. And in January 1910, President Wilson Howard Taft signed the Enabling Act, allowing the Arizona Territory to hold a constitutional convention. Remember how many people were in Arizona in 1910? 204,000. The new Constitution was ratified by voters in 1911, and Arizona statehood took place on February 4th, 1912. Actually, I think I lost the one on that one. It's actually February 14th. This is our national birthday, the birth of a nation. So when we want to celebrate our birthday, we celebrate it on Valentine's Day. Because when people tell you, July 4th was the birth of a nation, that's a bold-faced lie. That is not independent. July 4th, 1776 is not a birth of a nation, since the United States of America was never created to be a nation. So that's incorrect. So let's take a look at this Enabling Act that we've been talking about in 1910. Okay? It's got a lot of parts to it. There's the first section, the first 19 sections go to New Mexico. Because New Mexico and Arizona, we both joined the Union together. So when we look at section 20, it's a little bit wordy here, but it's important to understand these words, and I'm going to tell you why. The Constitution shall be Republican in form. Hey, that's pretty interesting. Does anybody know where they've read that before?
Article 4, Section 4.
Article 4, Section 4 of the Federal Constitution. And make no distinction in civil or political rights on account of race, and shall not be repugnant to the Constitution. That means that whatever Constitution we create cannot be repugnant to the Constitution. It cannot conflict with it. And the principles of the Declaration of Independence, okay? Second, now this is very important, listen very carefully, and that the people inhabiting said proposed state do agree and declare that they forever disclaim all right entitled to the unappropriated and ungranted public lands lying within the boundaries thereof. And to all lands lying within the said boundaries, owned or held by any Indian tribes, the right or title to which shall have been acquired through or from the United States. Article 4, Section 3, Paragraph 2. And what does that talk about? Who knows what that talks about? The federal government has the authority to make rules for disposing of the property of the United States. They are disposing of the property. They're giving the territory which belonged to the United States to now a new nation called Arizona. But you notice that we forever disclaim all our right to unappropriated, ungranted public lands. Who's granting the land? I don't hear anything. Who is granting the land to Arizona? No. The who? The federal government. The federal government gave us land within the boundaries. But it's interesting because it says title to unappropriated or ungranted lands. You know what that means? All the land within our borders wasn't given to us. That's what that means. This is why it starts getting really good.
They have more of the west than they do the east, though.
That's right, and I'm going to show you exactly what that's going to look like. So then it goes on to say that for any prior sovereignty, which is Mexico, and that until the title of such Indian or Indian tribes shall have been extinguished, and the same shall be and remain subject to the disposition and under the absolute jurisdiction and control of the Congress of the United States. That's exactly what it talks about in Article 4, Section 3. Congress has the authority to dispose of all property. That the land and other property belonging to citizens of the United States residing without the said state shall never be taxed at a higher rate than the lands of other property belonging to residents thereof, that no tax shall be imposed by the state upon the lands or properties therein belonging to, or which may hereafter be acquired by the United States or reserved for it. What they're saying is that the federal government would pay no property taxes to Arizona. The key in the Enabling Act is the federal government didn't give us all this land within the borders of Arizona.
We stole it?
No, we didn't steal it. It was never given to us. So when people say we're going to take our land back, you can't take your land back because it was never given to you. Not all the land within the borders of Arizona was given to Arizona.
Are they talking about the tribal lands?
That's what, remember he talked about the Indians, that it was extinguished? And you know what he said after that? It would all go back to the federal government. They thought that if the Indians died off for whatever reason, all that land that the Indians had, it goes back to the federal government. It doesn't go to us. So who has a lot of control here? The federal government. Who has very little control? Arizona. Let's take a look at Article 4, Section 8, Paragraph 2. The Congress shall have full power, the Declaration of Independence, to dispose and make of all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States. That's in the Constitution. That is one of the few and defined powers that Congress has. What territory were they talking about? Arizona territory. Wasn't that what they called us before we were a state?
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at this border issue that we have so much of. There's our little border, goes all the way from Baja, New Mexico,